Welcome to part 2 of our special series of Kalamazoo Lively Arts exploring the idea of creativity. How do the arts foster creativity? Why are they important? And what does the art scene look like in Kalamazoo?
Support for Kalamazoo Lively Arts is provided by the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation, helping to build and enrich the cultural life of Greater Kalamazoo.
Last episode, we asked the question, what is creativity? We found it comes in many shapes and forms and is very important to problem solving, innovation, and in the workplace. We also heard experts talk about the relationship between creativity and the arts. This episode will explore that relationship, see its role in our shared humanity, and take a look inside Kalamazoo to see what a community rooted in the arts can create.
One student said to me one time, and she said, "Thank you for saving my life." And I thought, saving your life? How did I save your life? I still get emotional. And she said, "You brought me art."
I feel like it's vital. I don't know where I would be without art, and pretty much all of the artists that I know, I don't know where they would be.
I can come to the studio or go to the theater tired and dragging, and the minute I get involved in the teaching and directing, I just get all energized. I go home and I can't go to sleep.
It enabled me to realize that I have a story and I have a history to my life that is, it's difficult and it's traumatic, but at the same time, it's kind of transformed me into who I am now.
It is vulnerable. It's extremely vulnerable. I enjoy it though. I think it's important for other people to see that type of vulnerability. I think that the way our world is set up it's meant to stifle that. You're not supposed to be open. You're not supposed to be honest. You're not supposed to talk about what's bothering you or what trauma you've been through. Those things, the trauma, the oppression, all those things are meant to silence you. And so for me, it's freedom. For me to get up on a stage and look out into the audience and make eye contact with people and know that what I have to say may change someone's life. It makes me feel so free.
So I'm very nervous right now, I'm not gonna lie. I brought my piece out, but I know that I can do this. So if I lose my words, please just be with me. Leading up to this event, I was posed with a question, which was, if the world was to end on May 2nd, what do you need to get out? What are the things that you need to heal? And I spent a couple weeks running from the truth. I was trying to hide, I was trying to come up with another piece, and I had a couple people that acted as mirrors and just showed me exactly what I was putting out, which is, I need to heal. And this next piece is just that. It's a really difficult piece for me to get through, but I need to heal.
The arts are an outlet for expression and a conduit to empathy and understanding. Artists all over Kalamazoo find ways to use art for good.
I see it all the time. I see so many different things, though. I see the art school as a healing place. Maybe they're experiencing some type of life transition and they need to reconnect with themselves. And they get into the school space and they start making something. And that physical process of doing something different opens them up to new ideas, and it becomes part of a healing experience. I've seen that time and time again.
So April, tell me a little bit your story, how you arrived here at the Kirk Newman
It's
Art
not
School.
the conventional story.
Yeah.
I'm not coming out of school. I've been around for a while. I had a cancer diagnosis 13 years ago, and things change. You had to find different things. I actually had the moment where, when am I going to leave my kids? And I didn't have any jewelry. And I became obsessed with jewelry and gemstones and started making my own pieces, setting stones. And I wasn't happy with commercial pieces you could buy.
Right.
And I found this place and got hooked.
And so what did the art do for you and to you when you went through that cancer diagnosis?
It gives me an outlet. My exhibit especially was a way for me to think about the feelings I had, the choices I had, not me, but like other women that were in my same circumstance, and just kind of put it into metal. And I love to try something new, and this is always something new. You're trying something. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there significance to the two faces on this?
So that's me and my child, and that's us going through the chemo. And then the pieces upstairs are all about the choices and life and death and the outcomes.
And art is for everyone. It's kind of the slogan here, right? I mean, and how important is it to expose kids to art?
That's what's nice about, and at any age, that's what's great about this school is anybody can be here. You don't have to be in a master's program or, you know, at a university program. You can be here and do it at a really high level for as long as you want.
I have a problem. Okay, well, if I'm being honest, I have several problems, maybe even lots of problems. But I have one that seems to be reoccurring ever since I was little. I'm constantly trying to fix things that are broken. As a child, I would take apart my walkie-talkie just to figure out why it stopped working, only to realize all it needed was a new set of batteries. And now, as an adult, I'm constantly trying to fix the people in my life, constantly trying to help them turn their past hardships into triumphs so they can finally let go. I even go as far as to do this with myself. I wake up every day grateful to be alive, but it's quickly followed by the feeling of fear, an impulse to check my phone for any missed calls informing me that a loved one has passed, informing me that you have passed. And even though I know that one day it's inevitable, I find myself grateful each day it hasn't happened. But that's when I think of you. I think of how proud you are of all the work I do, of all the time I spend getting people to break down their own walls, knowing that I haven't found the strength to open the closet doors wide enough to let my own demons fall out. But I've been holding these skeletons back for about 10 years now, and I'm beginning to choke on these words like bones I've kept buried on the back shelf of my throat. So I'm sorry.
Education, as we know it traditionally, is on life support. And I'm not ashamed to say it. Kids go to these systems and they're plugged into places that don't really validate how they learn. It doesn't even give them a chance to express in a generic way all the alternative things that they want to explore. And unfortunately, there's a whole lot of disparity there too.
One of the things when working in the school system we know is there is a great amount of emphasis placed on testing. There's a large emphasis on classroom time, attendance, any number of things that haven't changed since any of us have been in school. What did start to change was support for the arts and particular classes and support for the school. And a lot of times arts programs were the first to go. I don't think we could devastate a school any more than deciding to take away its arts programs. This is where students can find themselves. So many students who, like myself, felt a little lost at times, but found refuge in choir and in band, found refuge in being in a stage play.
I'm sorry that I struggled to separate my mother from the addict, but I don't know the difference between the two. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it's hard for me to see beyond the scars on your face, the ones that were caused by your nervous tics, caused by your need to scratch and pick, caused by nights you spent sleepless in search of dreams that gave me nightmares. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it's hard for me to hug you, but each time I embrace you, I feel the burn on my knees from all the nights I knelt, praying to a God I'm still not sure is real, but still being thankful each morning you came home. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm still struggling to separate my mother from the addict. So some days I want to yell and scream at you, but some days I just want to hold you and reassure you that waking up this morning was worth it. But most days, I just wish I had a mother. And I wonder why it's been left to me to be the parent that you could never be, and I'm sorry.
Sometimes it's tricky as a teacher to balance the social versus the education-driven part, and I definitely try to balance it's both.
Dee Dee Adler is a teacher with Orchestra Roa, a free year-round music program serving newly resettled Syrian children and other refugee families in Kalamazoo. Roa means both hope and spirit in Arabic.
The reason that this orchestra exists is to give them a skill in an art form, but it's also for them to socialize and be able to hang out with people, you know, in a safe space that support them. So I definitely balance the two. You know, I was talking to one of the girls about her leaving Syria just the other day and what that experience was like. And I've also talked to some of the students about what their experience at school is like and if they're dealing with any discrimination or bullying and that kind of stuff, and some of them are. And so I'm using the drum as a way, I like to incorporate that into a way to empower them. Like we create rhythms and just like drum and get it out. And then we also balance with this sort of academic of techniques and playing, reading music and, you know, playing Arabic rhythms.
It's a very treasurable experience to just like have somebody and they'll be like, a little shy, a little something, and they'll just kind of do that thing where they like close their journal a lot. And then like 3 months later, they're like, hey, I wrote another poem. Like, they're just like ready for it. Or they're like performing their poetry in front of 100 or 200 people. And they're just open. And there's one thing to see the artistic growth, and it's another thing to see the human growth.
They're working on caring for you and with each other. They're working on finding their voice and being able to name their emotions. They're working on advocating for themselves so that they can actually speak to their teachers and their parents and each other and teach them how to treat them. Those are baseline things that we take for granted that aren't being done.
Don't cut anything in the arts, people, because you know, people learn to soar. When art is in your environment, people learn to soar.
They had a bunch of pilots that flew the SR-71 Blackbird at the Air Zoo a while back, and my dad went down there. And my dad, as I said, no interest in the arts, asked, what would prep kids to do what you did? And he said, learn a musical instrument. Like, this is a guy who was one of the elites in aeronautics or in flight. And he's saying, go learn the violin if you want to fly this thing. And that is just mind-blowing.
Are you able to measure if music transfers into good work in the classroom? Do we know?
Well, now that is the problem that everybody would like to solve. What I can tell you is that the Kids in Tune students attend school much more regularly than children in the same building who aren't at Kids in Tune. They miss something like 5 fewer school days a year. Now, and that is one thing that every education professional will point to. Better attendance leads to better outcomes.
So I'm actually in a very unique position because I've studied both music and science. And many people often, they'll ask me or they'll say, oh, you know, mathematics and music or science and music is actually very related, so you must be good. And it's true to a large extent. It's not always true, but there are some very, very fundamental similarities that I think really help students who have an exposure to music, help them to become better at the maths and the sciences. I felt from a young age learning music and learning to read music and discovering the notes and the values, which is just fractions. I mean, it's the same thing they teach in the schools. By the time I got to 3rd or 4th grade where we were learning that stuff, I knew it, because it was, for me, it was a very deep and real understanding from playing it and from experiencing it, instead of just learning something by rote. So I think that by learning music, children give themselves a real head start in the hard sciences. And so they say a lot of the time STEM programs should actually be STEAM programs, adding the arts. And I fully agree.
When I was in school, there were multiple classes, music. It was always available. With that being cut in so many schools and programs, how do you think that really can affect society, the kids?
I'm not an alarmist. I try not to go over the top, but it's a problem. I mean, it's really one of the few places where people, human beings, kids learn how to relate to others. That's actually one of the things that people argue for music education, is that music helps us understand our own emotions and understand the feeling states of other people. In the study that we did, actually, we took a small number of children and we built an underlying accompaniment and then had them improvise on just the black keys on the piano so that there were no wrong notes. An area that became activated that we weren't really looking for, but we found, was parts of the brain involved with empathy.
I'm sorry that it has to come out like this, but I don't know how to talk to you anymore, or maybe I never really did. Maybe that's why it's so uncomfortable for you to break down in front of me when you tell me how much you hate your life. And it kills me, because I know that taking you apart and putting you back together again can't help you, that putting new batteries in you won't fix you, that there's nothing I can do to save you. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm not saying this to hurt you. Believe me, I don't want to add to the lists of reasons why you wish you hadn't woken up this morning. I just need you to hear me.
Black refractions, right? It's a lot of people's personal stories. Why is that important?
There are many different stories in our society that have been hidden or suppressed. The exhibitions that we've done recently have played a role in giving us a safe space to process that information and to open us up a little bit so that we can make some necessary changes. If we look at the history of change in our country, there has been no major social, political, or economic or movement of any type that hasn't involved the use of art.
I've tried ignoring your addiction for too long now. I've tried pretending it doesn't exist. But I've spent 10 years now picking up the pieces you've left behind, and there's no more room for any more secrets on the back shelf of my throat. These skeletons want to come out and receive a proper burial. Like this one. This one that you dropped during a seizure after you'd been gone for 4 days and 4 nights with no sleep. Or the one when, at 17 years old, I knew paramedics by first name, because I saw them more than my own father.
We like to think that artists are the ones that can reimagine a better world. Mm-hmm. So as an artist, what better world would you reimagine?
We are here to tell stories that have been untold. We are here to represent people who haven't been represented, at least not equally. We all have different flavors. We all have different shades and different tones. And I want that tapestry. Like, I want to continually build and have new colors and new flavors and new stories. And that's kind of what I want to see happen.
What's your vision? What would you like to see happen musically?
I would like everybody to be able to enjoy and play an instrument or sing or do whatever they would like to do, but I want that open access for everyone.
I would love for all people to not have to struggle in order to live
a happy, meaningful life. I would love to at least contribute to that revolution or that movement with my music.
I want us all to be able to have the things that we need and have those things be adequate for you to be able to be happy, to be unpersecuted, to be unpressured by so many of the things that society has, and for us to be able to really enjoy the pursuits of happiness as we want them.
You see the world ain't your oyster and I ain't your pearl, that's why I call you my girl. You're more complete than centuries and analogies.
Why support the arts in Kalamazoo?
Why support the arts? The arts ask us to step away from our lives as sort of what we have to do every day and make us think about our life as what it can be.
So Ed, what would happen without the arts in Kalamazoo?
Well, it'd be a vastly different place, wouldn't it?
The arts define us, and they allow us to realize what we are, in fact. If you share an artistic experience with somebody, it leads to questions, it leads to ideas, it leads to conversations, it leads you down a path that is very difficult to get to otherwise. If we didn't have literature, if we didn't have music or visual art, we wouldn't be the same society, we wouldn't be the same culture.
People say the word artsy fartsy, I went, oh.
Like it's a bad thing.
Like it's a bad thing. Like art is somehow lightweight.
Yeah.
And in my experience, art is the most difficult set of stuff I've ever had to confront. I have been asked to study and write about things that were so difficult for me to understand, to grapple with that. Really what art taught me how to do was to think.
When divisive language and divisive philosophies are sort of taking people apart, I think the arts are something that has such power to bring people together. And arts that identify human condition and people share in that. They share in those experiences and say, I don't care who you are, that was beautiful.
People seem to need to make art. It's not superfluous. It's not sort of the frosting on the cake. It seems to be a real human need. It's probably driven by a couple things. And one, the need to connect to other people and the need to be creative.
If you look at the richness of our arts community, it's very unique for a community our size. The number of organizations that our community invests in is impressive.
A community that prides itself on its arts, from the Gilmore Keyboard Festival, from the Kalamazoo Institute of Art, to our dance studios, to every medium that there is, we need to open it up even more and create that access for our students to be able to see it, for the rest of the world to know that it's here, and make it an attractor for our community.
It's vitally important to us and to the community, and I am thankful that Kalamazoo supports the arts in the way that it does, and I'm very lucky to be here.
I hope you find your purpose in this world and decide to start living it again. I hope our skeletons will get to dance with each other while you find the strength to pull yourself back together again. But most importantly, I hope we never end up like those broken walkie-talkies. Two pieces of the same set, designed to communicate with each other, but still finding ways to break each other down and reasons why we can't hear anything but static when we try to connect. Too stubborn to realize that maybe they never needed fixing in the first place. Maybe all they needed was someone to take them from the back of the closet and give them a second chance. And maybe, just maybe, all they needed was a new set of batteries. Thank you.
So we had an opportunity this year to add another number to our duo. So Speak It Forward is now a trio. And as we look forward, it also reminds us to look back into the past.
That was 2015, and Kirk and Gabe were introducing Jesselyn as the newest addition to Speak It Forward. Just as they used creativity to bring to life an organization born out of their own struggles, Jesselyn went on using her experiences to mentor the next generation of youth. We set out to define creativity. What we found is that it's hard to put in a box, give it a single label, or even sum it up. Creativity embeds itself as a necessity in everything from education to innovation and the ways we live, work, and play. As humans, it liberates us. Most importantly, we learn that creativity and imagination are woven into the very fabric of Kalamazoo.
Support for Kalamazoo Lively Arts is provided by the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation, helping to build and enrich the cultural life of Greater Kalamazoo.